Today in this tutorial I'm going to be going through how to draw key poses with energy for your storyboarding phase, or particularly in an action scene where there's lots of dynamic movement. We're going to want our poses to be very energetic and translate that energy. Welcome back, guys. So I'm going through a storyboard here. This is a storyboard for my next animation that's coming up, and I'm going back through the key poses, and I'm going through a couple of checklist things. So for one thing, the anatomy and the proportions, I'm trying to correct them a little bit because they're not great in a lot of these things, and I let a lot of anatomy slip, and I don't mind too much sometimes, but occasionally there's a level of anatomy that you can't get away with. So I'm trying to improve it enough to be acceptable, basically. But also, of course, is the gesture and the directional movement, and trying to make these poses feel like they have a direction at all times. So, for example, this pose here, we can see it's got a clear direction, and it's like, you see, you've got a nice strong line coming through here, and we can even exaggerate that more to make it just a single line with a nice curvature like that. And then we've got this one coming off to the side. That's like because he's unbalanced. So this movement here, he's been thrown off a cliff and he's holding on to this thing, but it's not intentional for him. So I was trying to create this pose to make it look like he wasn't intending to fall. So that's what this arm is for. It's like for balance or something. We got these directional lines here as well. So I think this pose is pretty good. And another thing is that, like, this is just a pose just from my imagination, right? But when you go to clean up the lines, you've got to make sure that these lines here, these very strong lines, they're not taken away in your final draft. So if you do have a process which is like doing multiple passes, you should try and make sure that the directional lines are still translated. So my advice for that is don't go in too close, and if you're in with like a 500% zoom or something and you're trying to draw this, and you'll be like, okay, here's the arm there, and you make it up of like 3 or 4 pieces. You zoom out and look, it's lost all of its energy. That line has no clear energy. So it's what I do when I practice this is I don't zoom in at all. And yes, it does look quite messy, but the lines keep their energy, they retain that. Another thing to do is to come at it with speed. So don't draw too slow like this. If you draw too slow, the energy will be lost. You need it with a lot of speed. So I tend to just dash it across the page, and one of the things that does is it removes, there's less vectors in the line. So if we come here and we look at how many vectors, look, we've got 1, 2, 3 vectors for the whole thing, and the parts in between is a nice curve. Now if I did that again, but I did it slow, look how many different times the line changes direction. So like this, and then look how many more vector points there are in it. So you can treat each of these vector points as like how many times it changes direction. So yeah, go fast, basically, like that. So now I'm gonna go through this storyboard and pick out a few poses where I feel like I can improve it, either anatomy wise or proportions or gesture. And yeah, I invite you to watch that and just see my refining process. Now I might be adding detail here or there, but it's not really about that. It's about improving the poses to communicate the movement, so you can see what movement it is even in the still image. So that's what I'm going to try and do now, and yeah, take a look.
we've got time for this lesson. Thank you very much for watching my tutorial. I know it wasn't really a tutorial as such. I appreciate all your questions that you send to me through the YouTube comments. If you would like to download the composition grids that I use in the background for this one, or any of my other source files, watch exclusive tutorials that you won't find on YouTube, you can do that all on my website, animatorguild.com. Please head over there and just check it out, and you will get loads of free stuff. So let me know what you thought of this tutorial. It's got heaps more that I'm just working on editing for you guys. So anyway, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.
Perspective rules that you can look up, and there's books on perspective, which I have, some of which I have read, and there's classes on perspective. Perspective goes pretty deep. Like, there's a lot to learn about perspective rules, but the rules in animation that I use